Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We sift through all the sources, all the specs, so you get the straight story. Today, we're looking at Apple's new iPhones for 2025. And it's not just one phone. We've got three pretty different ideas coming at us. The iPhone 17, the 17 Pro, and this totally new thing, the iPhone Air. We're seeing sort of performance, versatility, and pure minimalism.
That's right. We've got the standard 17, the Pro, which seems aimed at creators, and the Air, which looks like an engineering balancing act. So our job today, cut through the usual hype, look at the actual engineering choices these sources are pointing to. What are the trade-offs, and what does this whole lineup tell us about where phones might be going? Which one, actually makes a difference for most people?
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the baseline, the standard iPhone 17. Sometimes the base model feels a bit left behind,
Yeah.
missing the cool stuff from the Pro. But it sounds like this year, it's finally getting that premium feel.
Yeah, the design looks familiar, same shape, buttons, camera bump mostly. But the big deal is inside the new A19 chip. Apple's talking, what, 20% faster? And better battery life, too. That's already pretty solid. But I think the screen is where you'll really feel the difference this year.
Exactly. It's brighter, for one thing. Up to 3,000 nits, they're saying, which is great if you're actually using your phone, like outside in the sun. But the big thing, the one that changes how it feels day to day, is promotion. Finally.
Yes, promotion. That adaptive refresh rate going from 1 hertz all the way up to 120 hertz, it's now standard on all the 17 models. Before, you had to shell out for the Pro to get that super smooth scrolling and animation. Now you get that silky smoothness when you need it, but it can also slow right down to save battery when you're just looking at a photo or something.
That 1 hertz thing is key, isn't it? It's not just about being smooth. It's about saving power. A huge amount of power compared to just blasting 120 hertz all the time. So it really makes the standard 17 feel like a much more complete package this year.
And then there are the other practical upgrades, like they finally doubled the base storage to 256 gigs, long overdue. But what's fascinating here, I think, is a smaller detail. That new front camera, 24 megapixels.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's clever, right? Because the sensor itself is square.
Exactly. It's a square sensor.
Yeah.
So taking a portrait or landscape selfie isn't about turning the phone. It's just about how the software intelligently crops the image. You just shoot, and it figures out the best framing for portrait or landscape. It's a really elegant hardware-software solution.
Yeah.
Hides the complexity.
Nice. Okay, moving up the line then. To the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, the heavy hitters. And this is where we see some pretty big engineering shifts, especially around materials and keeping things cool.
Right. The first thing that leaked, the big headline, was the move back to aluminum. Unibody aluminum away from titanium. And you might think, oh, aluminum, that's a step down. But actually for heat, it's a big step up. Aluminum just gets rid of heat much, much better than titanium does. Conductivity is way higher.
So the Pro isn't chasing absolute lightness anymore. It's about performing, like consistently, under load. And that focus on heat seems to have dictated the whole camera area redesign too. It's not just a bump, they're calling it a plateau. Holds the cameras, obviously, but also parts of the logic board and the A19 Pro chip itself.
And shifting those components around is crucial. Why? Because it makes space inside. And what did they fill that space with? More battery. So the Pro models get, supposedly, a 10% boost in battery life. Apple's quoting something like 39 hours of video playback for the Pro Max.
Okay, 39 hours.
Yeah.
That's always a marketing number, right?
Well,
What does that realistically mean for someone who actually pushes their phone? Is that 10% enough to make it, say, a genuine 2-day phone? Or is it just eaten up by the faster chip?
Well, I don't think it's negligible, especially because it works together with the other big change, the cooling system. This is the real kicker for the Pro models. They are the first iPhones ever to get a vapor chamber cooling system.
Right. For people who maybe haven't followed PC cooling trends, what exactly is a vapor chamber, and why is it a big deal to fit one in a phone?
Okay, so think of it like a really flat, sealed copper heat pipe. Inside, there's a tiny bit of liquid. When the A19 Pro chip gets hot, the liquid vaporizes, the vapor spreads the heat out really fast across the whole chamber. Then it cools, condenses back to liquid, and moves away from the chip. The point is, it stops the phone from having to slow itself down drastically, thermal throttling when it gets hot. So if you're shooting 4K video for a long time or playing a really demanding game, the performance should stay high for much longer. It lets the Pro chip actually act like a Pro chip, sustained power, not just short bursts.
Gotcha. And that pro focus carries over to the cameras too, right? The telephoto lens.
Yeah, the 4X telephoto sensor, the 48 megapixel one, is apparently over 50% larger now. They might have sacrificed a tiny bit of zoom reach compared to maybe a 5X, but that much bigger sensor means way more detail and much better low light performance. Doubles the resolution for cropping too.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, these pro models are getting more actual pro workflow features too.
Definitely. Things like ProRes RAW recording, essential for serious video editing flexibility, and full timecode synchronization. If you're using an iPhone alongside, say, a proper cinema camera, timecode sync makes lining up all that footage in the edit absolutely seamless, saves tons of time. So yeah, they're clearly thinking about how these phones fit into a bigger production environment, not just taking photos.
Okay. Which brings us to the wild card, the iPhone Air. This one seems to be all about one thing, thinness, pushing that physical lightness, which means trade-offs, the physics of thinness.
Oh, yeah. It's incredibly thin, 5.6 millimeters. That's seriously thin, like laptop thin. And it looks stunning, no doubt. Specs are still decent, too, considering 6.5-inch ProMotion display. It uses the A19 Pro chip, but with one GPU core turned off probably for heat and power management, plus all the latest connectivity, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, Thread. It's packed.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. The compromises. Because you can't just make something that thin without something giving way, right? Physics always wins.
That's the heart of it. The Air is thin, so it has less space inside, which means no vapor chamber cooling like the Pro. And the sources say it uses a titanium frame. Titanium looks great, it's strong and light, but it does not dissipate heat well, not like the Pro's aluminum. So what happens? You push it hard, gaming, tethering for a while, and it's probably going to get noticeably warm, maybe even throttle performance sooner than the Pro.
And then there's the battery life question. It's central to this whole Air idea. Apple says all-day battery, but physics suggests a phone this thin. Well, you might need to top up mid-afternoon, which makes that new clip-on MagSafe battery pack kind of ironic, doesn't it? They released it almost specifically for the Air.
It totally undermines the name. The whole point is air, lightness, minimalism, but then to get decent endurance, you have to snap on this extra battery bore. It makes the sleek design almost conditional, a two-part system if you need the stamina. And besides heat and battery, there are other little things. It's eSIM only, no physical SIM slot at all, and it lacks ILM Wave 5G.
Okay, eSIM only, we're seeing that more. But why does dropping ILM 5G matter? What does that mean for users?
So nWave is that super fast but very short range version of 5G. You find it in dense cities, stadiums, airports, places like that. Leaving out the special antennas needed for it saves space inside the Air and complexity and probably cost. But it means Air users won't get those absolute peak gigabit speeds in those specific locations. Makes it maybe slightly less future-proof in major urban areas compared to the Pro.
Right. So market-wise, the Air slides in where the old Pluses model used to be, making the lineup clearer, like 17 base for function, Air for design, Pro for capability, and maybe an Ultra later. It feels like a big market test.
Absolutely. It reminds me a lot of the very first MacBook Air. Remember that? It launched, it was expensive, kind of underpowered, missing ports everyone needed. But wow, did it set the design direction for basically all laptops that came after it? Apple might be betting that extreme thinness is the next big premium feature people will pay for, even with the downsides. The Air could be today's luxury inconvenience that becomes tomorrow's standard design.
Interesting parallel. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the foundation under all these phones. Apple Intelligence, the AI stuff happening on the device.
Yeah, this might actually be the biggest long-term change across the whole lineup. Both the A19 and A19 Pro chips have beefed up neural engines, dedicated AI acceleration hardware built right in. And the big push is to do as much AI processing as possible locally, right there on your phone.
And that's not just about being faster, right? It's mainly about privacy.
Exactly. Keeps your data, your messages, your calendar, your photos off cloud servers for a lot of these smart tasks. Things like live transcription, writing suggestions, sorting your photos by context, figuring out smart replies. Doing that locally is way more private and often quicker, too.
And we're seeing this tie into iOS 26 already.
Yeah, it's laying the groundwork for a smarter Siri that actually understands context better, for photos apps that can group pictures adaptively, for language models that learn your way of writing. It's all about reducing that digital friction, making the phone feel like it anticipates what you need, that feeling of like mental lightness. Imagine asking it to summarize a long email thread when you don't even have cell signal, the local AI can just do it securely, instantly.
Okay, so while we're talking about these headline features, thinness, speed, AI, there's also quieter progress happening. Sustainability, repairability, stuff regulators are pushing for.
Which raises an important question. How much of this design stuff is driven by what users want versus what regulations demand? The sources are pointing to a new way they're putting in the batteries, using adhesives that make it easier for authorized techs to remove them without wrecking everything. That's almost certainly tied to the EU's right to repair rules coming up.
Making them easier to fix. And using recycled aluminum in the Pro. That helps. Plus, that modular camera plateau design on the Pro. Does that mean if, say, just the telephoto lens breaks, they can replace just that part, not the whole expensive camera module?
That seems to be the idea. Less waste, lower repair costs, potentially. It shows that thinking about the product's end of life, how it gets repaired or recycled, is now a real engineering factor, not just an afterthought. Repairability scores are becoming almost as important as benchmarks these days. It suggests Apple's planning for longer device lifespans, partly because they have to meet these global standards.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. If you're listening and thinking about upgrading, here's the boiled-down choice as we see it from these sources. The iPhone 17, the standard one. It's the new solid default. You finally get that smooth promotion screen and more storage without paying the Pro price. It's functional, feels premium now.
Then the iPhone 17 Pro. That's the safe bet if you need performance and endurance. The cooling, the aluminum, the bigger battery it's built to do more, for longer even when things get hot. It's for capability.
And the iPhone Air. Well, that's the statement piece. It's all about carrying less, that incredible thinness. It looks amazing, but you have to accept the trade-offs. Probably less battery stamina, maybe gets warmer under pressure.
So what does this all mean? Yeah, I think it boils down to what kind of convenience matters more to you. Is it the mental convenience of the Pro, knowing it will just work, stay cool, last all day, handle the AI stuff smoothly? Or is it the physical convenience of the Air, feeling that lightness in your pocket, even if you have to manage its limits sometimes? Sustained capability versus physical weight. That seems to be the core choice here.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, final provocative thought for everyone listening. If the iPhone Air succeeds, if its main goal is pushing thinness above all else, what's next on the chopping block to achieve that? We lost the headphone jack, physical SIMs are going. Could the charging port itself be next? All in the name of that ultra minimalist design. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.